this is Neil with Wasted Paper here. What I'm bringing you today is a video I've been really anticipating. I just had to wait forever for this to get here in the mail. It felt like forever because anxiety, I guess. But what I have is a overview of a company called Highlander Writing Instruments. The owner of this company and creator, his name is Charles. I reached out to him on Etsy, which looks to be like their primary source of where they sell their stuff, which I'll have the link down below. Well, I was interested in their pens. I saw a few of them and they looked like somewhat unique and different than other bespoke as he has his actual branding and logo on it. So I was really interested. I reached out to him, talked to him for a while, and now we're here. So I'm going to give you a bit of company history later, but first I want to unbox this right now. So let's start with the envelope. It's got their logo on there, my name in the back. It says, Neil, thank you very much for contacting me. It's great to meet you. Candy and I hope you love your new pen and your journal. Cheers, Chuck and Candy. I'm assuming he goes by Chuck. I didn't know that. I do know that they're a two-person team that does everything together. He's the one that's got it on the lathe and is putting everything together, and she's the one casting their resin. I know for the material they use for their resin, it is called alumilite, which is a resin that looks like a lot of bespoke pen people use. So it's new to me. First time seeing that, but I just want to let you guys know what they're made out of. We're going to open the big box first and the small box last. It's nice. See, this is what I mean, though. This is why I wanted to check them out. The branding on here is really nice, and then they go the extra mile to get additional branding, too, which I can really respect because I love design. So it's just something to me that I think makes all the difference. So unfortunately, I have to rip this now. Dang. Okay. I looked on their website to get more of a description on this. It does say it uses Saffiano leather, which I have seen some other notebooks kind of use that. But it also has this, which is pretty unique. You don't really see gilded pages all that often. Almost never, to be honest with you. I don't think I've seen them on any fountain pen paper ever. So I'm excited to actually check the quality of this paper. It has 192 pages in it, which is straight massive, which is actually really nice because I need something that I use all the freaking time. It is lined paper. There's maybe a bit of cream to this. It comes off really white in the light just because my overhead light, but it is a bit cream, not much, very light. And it's got their branding and logo at the bottom right here. It also comes with a little ribbon so you can keep your page right there. Right off the top, you have a converter, which is a Schmidt converter, and you have a cartridge, which surely should be black. You have a pen sleeve right here, which is like felt maybe. I don't know what else this would be, but it's also branded right here with their logo. Now we have the pen, which is what I'm most excited for. This teal is super chatoyant. There's so much glow and light to this pen. I'm actually almost in shock how shiny this is. And then the gold hardware is super bright, which you kind of expect when it's brand new, but I'm actually like, this is super bright. This is what really made them stand out, so I want to kind of start from the top down. You have their Highlander logo, which is the lion holding that pen. You have a clip right here that is a bit faceted. It's got a nice little bump in the center that you can actually feel. To actuate it, very easy. Anytime they come out like this and protrude, it's always really easy to have a clip that actuates, but it's good to see. Going down from there, you have this amazing chatoyant teal, which I just really, really like how shiny that is. It's almost the whole thing. Usually when you see something chatoyant like this, it's like parts or like a stream of it, not so much every single part of it. It's really nice to see. For the cap band, I asked him about this too because it's a unique cap band. I've never seen one like this. What it is it's supposed to have like an H in it right here. So it would go down, down, and then to the center. Let me kind of cover this side so you can see what I'm talking about. That's to show their Highlander branding. So they made a unique looking cap so they could hide their little Easter egg in there of their brand right there. See the H? On the bottom finial though, you have the same branding and the same logo. I do have the gold trim on this one. When talking to him, it sounds like they really want to push their rose gold accents. It's something that's like really important to them, and what they're kind of focused on with that is less pink in it and more red. I have a picture right here that I want to make sure to show you guys for some of their hardware. But now unscrewing the cap, you have, let's see how many turns that was. So start from the top. 1.5. So it's about 1.5 turns, which is pretty good. So let's go around here. That's 1, and then right there. Maybe a little shorter than 1.5. It is a medium nib. That's what the M's for. And then you have your plastic feed. Let's see on the inside of here. Once you get it unscrewed on the inside, you can actually see the whole body in there. This is a brass fitting, I'm almost positive, and I'll reach out to confirm, but it looks like brass on the inside of there. So there's a little weight. It's nothing too heavy because obviously it's hollowed out, but there's some weight to this. And then you have the other side of your feed. I could ink the pen up with the cartridge it came with, but I really want to use this ink. I'm kind of obsessed with it right now, and I did do a short on this ink recently. It is called Confetti Blue. It is by Robert Oster. It's an exclusive to Yoseka. I would link this, but it's out of stock. I literally got the last bottle from them. I was so happy to get it because I missed out on it originally, but they had one left and I was able to get it. So I'm really excited to get this one in this pen. For my writing sample, I'm going to be using the Highlander notebook. It should be obvious, but I want to include their paper in here to kind of test it as well. One thing I want to include, if you guys aren't aware of this, when you get a new book, I do this. I've not done it with a notebook, but I am because it's sizable enough. You actually want to hold this up, open both pages like this, and then what I do is you want to slowly lay down the pages and kind of flatten them on each edge. So doing that helps your binding and it makes it so your pages don't look like off center. I'm sure you've seen notebooks that have like a weird center point. So it's not anything huge, but I wanted to include it for anyone interested or maybe you have that issue. I learned this once back when I was reading a ton. I had reached out and I was like, hey man, I got these huge like omnibuses that are massive. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm having pages either get weak or rip or bend. And they were like, yeah, you actually just open it from the center like this, slowly raise down a few pages and kind of press flat them to kind of build that seam, but it'll get you to your center point to be a lot more even. As for the writing sample, I don't know if it's the paper or this nib. I've used Yovo nibs in the past, but this just glides across the paper. I'm actually really happy with how smooth this was, and like I'm just shocked. I don't know if it was the nib itself. I will say this is a bit more bold than I would expect for a medium. I use quite a bit of fine nibs, don't get me wrong, but I use mediums too, and this is pretty bold. Not in a bad sense, but I would say expect a slightly bolder line here. But I just that slid across the paper really, really nice. We can test the flex now. So here's with no pressure. Here's with none, with none, with. Not really any. I mean, the slightest amount, but mostly it's just putting down more ink. Again, steel nibs not made for flexing, really aren't going to do it. But I am very surprised with how smooth this is. For size comparisons, I'm going to use my staples, which is a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Custom A23. When comparing the sizes of these, it looks like the Safari is actually slightly longer than this. This didn't feel like a short pen or anything, but it is a little bit shorter than that. And then the Custom A23 is a longer pen. Looking at them uncapped, the Highlander is the shortest, but it's not by much. It's a very small amount. Another thing too, and I didn't mention this earlier, so I want to get to it now. The threads on here are super smooth and soft. So you literally, if you wanted to write back here, you could, and it's not like obtrusive or anything. I don't feel any sort of issue doing that. So it's really dependent on the person, the user, everything like that. I would do a comparison with them posted, but this pen doesn't post. The main reason being is the weight, right? Your cap's not hella heavy, but if it was to add more weight on the back here, you're just going to start writing backwards and that's just going to be uncomfortable. So you cannot post this pen, but I don't find that necessarily as a flaw, especially when it would just be detrimental to be able to. How I found him originally is I was looking through Etsy for a bespoke pen maker, and I found his. He has really good reviews, about 400 or so sells, but he has 5 stars across the board. And talking to him, I also wanted to get this article he showed me. He was featured in a pen magazine, which is crazy. Didn't know that in advance, found it out later, and he should be advertising that more probably on his Etsy. Or maybe it's there and I just didn't see it. But that's super cool. So I want to include this article here for everyone to see as well. I'm making this part kind of in the future. What I did is for the last 3 days, I've used only this fountain pen. I wanted to bring it with work with me. I keep it in my pocket. I've used only this one so I could really test it. Because with a bespoke company or companies that are kind of their own thing that aren't, the huge ones, you don't really have good examples of it. So I made sure to only use this. But in that time, I just have decided I really like this pen. The nib writes great. The pen itself seals well. I've had zero issues with it. It's not unscrewing in my pocket, nothing. I don't have any other pen that really has the brass body like this either, so I didn't know, but it tends to stay a little bit warmer when it's in my pocket as I'm doing stuff and working all day. Not in a bad way, but it's a different feeling than some of my other pens. What I did with this is I actually wrote more on this page, nothing too crazy there, but then I also tested a few other pens. I don't know why I didn't think to do this in the first place. For starters, you have a sheening ink with an Ultra Flex nib. I put Flex, but it is the Ultra Flex nib. It's a little dark. It does still show sheen. It shows it less in this, unfortunately, on video than it does in person, but it is there. It's just a little bit darker. I did a Flex Fine nib, no issues with that. I did an extra fine shimmer ink. I can feel some texture here. I don't know if that's because I like maybe scratched the paper or if it's that glitter particles, but I don't really use extra fine too much, so that could just be that I went too hard with it. With this, I used a gold Lamy nib. As you can see, there is some shading here, which is nice to see. There's that, and it's just really smooth, no issues. I used a vanishing point with a dark ink. I used a number 8 gold nib. There is some feathering, but I actually think that was due to me, to be honest with you. I don't think that was the pen, because you don't see any here on the big amount of ink. I used a fine gold nib, no issues, a medium steel nib, no issues, a dentist nib, which this is a double broad, grounded to an architect, and I used a ballpoint pen. I would say none of these really had any issues at all. It seems to do fine with everything. I would say if I was to give one critique, I guess, the sheen in person, it's there, but it's not as bright as it could be. But realistically, that's such a small critique for this. All of those different writings and inks, you don't really see a whole lot of anything. It does just fine. And I think if you were to write on the back of this page, honestly, you definitely wouldn't see any of this because it would cover it. Putting this in my bag, it's not very heavy at all. And it's so flexible and pliable. It's just really easy to pull out and use. I'm not a fan of hardcover. I've used Traveler's notebooks for a while, and my Tomoe River notebooks, they're all soft cover. So I really like this, and it looks so premium. I love the white on here. But the big seller for me is these gilded pages. You never see fountain pen paper like this. At least I don't. And I've used quite a few, but I'm sure I guess there could be some out there. But I really like this. I can't get over how much I like that. The notebook, the packaging, the little pen sleeve, and then of course the pen. I just like every part of this. I think this is such a good package. I think it's such a good deal. We didn't talk about price, so I'll show up right now. The different prices on his website. He's got different models. I really just think you need to check him out for yourself. I think I'm gonna get a custom pen made from Charles here. I don't know if he wants me to call him Chuck or not, but I think I'm gonna go hit that route too. I wanted to show you the ad right here. He told me his turnaround time's roughly 2 weeks. Can be a little longer, which is fine and understandable. Could be a little less if you get really lucky. But we're talking most other pen makers are telling me a year on average or more. So I just can't get past that. So I'm going to look and see what we can do. And if I can get a custom pen out there, I'm definitely going to get a video on that for you guys. I hope you found this video interesting and want to check out something you're really not used to seeing. Highlander seems like a great company and I love talking to the guy and I'm really interested in all they're putting out. And I know they have some new models. He kind of told me a little bit about that. So I'm going to keep my eye out and I hope you guys check this company out too. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.